What does filmed for IMAX mean? It isn't just a movie that'll look great on IMAX's screens. It means that hiding from a sandstorm feels like fear in every flicker. And every triumph is felt in every sound wave. And the things we've only imagined, you can truly experience those too. That's what filmed for IMAX means. Get tickets to experience Dune Part 2 now and IMAX's exclusive expanded aspect ratio.
Well, hello, and welcome to episode 158 of Drink the Movies. I am Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, it is our fourth annual Drink the Movies Oscar season, also known as the 96th Annual Academy Awards. Are you excited for Oscar week, Michaela?
I'm so excited I can hardly speak about it. Yes.
Michaela's just
in a word,
trembling over there
yes.
with anticipation,
That's
pretty
right.
much.
That's it. It's look, it's the best week for movie watchers, movie goers, people who are in movies, people who help make movies. This is like the ultimate award that you could receive, which is kind of funny because it's only one of like 387 award ceremonies that are given out of the world, right? I mean, there's a lot out there, but this is definitely the most popular. Maybe I don't know. Definitely been the one that's been on the most TVs in the last couple of years. I'm looking at you, Golden Globe. So
It's the one of them when people, when you're looking, back in the before times, you would go to the video store and you would say, oh, okay, this movie, and it would have on the front of the box that it was the winner of 3 Academy Awards, right? No one puts that it was the winner of, I don't know, like 3 Critics' Choice Awards, really, right? So this is the big one. This is the big one. It feels like we've been in full-blown Oscar and award season now for a long time, and it's finally come to fruition here this week as we're getting into the Oscars on the 10th. So we've got our Oscar Pick'em contest is going live. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, there is still time to go get entered into that. Go to drinkthemovies.com. You could just make your picks for what you think are going to win the Oscars. Get those in to us by the time Oscars start, 7 p.m. Eastern time on March the 10th. Get entered to win. We've got our prize package there. All you do is make your picks. Whoever makes the most picks wins. That's pretty good. This is our 4th annual Drink the Movies Oscar season and our 4th time doing Oscar picks. And every year it's gotten a little bit bigger and better, Michaela, so that's good.
That's true. That's true. You might actually win this year, Brian. We'll see. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, that is some shade. I think I'm 2 wins, 1 loss here for the
You're
3
way
that we've
ahead.
done. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, it is Oscar time, and we are excited to get into that. So we're going to be bringing a guest on today to the pod to help us make our choices and talk a little bit about that. We've got Jake from Galaxy of Film and Oscar Bait, a show that we've both had a chance to be on. So we're going to be bringing him in here after we take our break. But before we take a break, Michaela, we're going to need to mix up a cocktail, and I found this one. It actually comes from the Governor's Ball. I got these particular from Gotham magazine, but I saw this a couple places on the internet, and these cocktails all feature Don Julio tequila. Don Julio is the official tequila, I guess, official liquor of the Academy Awards, and they're doing all the cocktails for the Governor's Ball. And that is the big fancy ball that you and I have never been invited to, but one day hope to attend. It's the big after party for the Oscars. And this one's called It's Showtime. And it was pretty good. Why don't you talk about it?
Oh my gosh. This cocktail is glorious. And which is interesting because we don't usually do like a tequila cocktail for Oscars. It's usually like a champagne or some sort of riff on something with bubbles. But Don Julio, we're giving you some love. This is amazing, and it's actually pretty easy to make. This could qualify for like a lobby bar cocktail even. The only thing that's a little different about it is you're going to make what they call a coriander tincture. And what that means is a tincture is something you use just drops of in your cocktail. It's kind of like a bitters, but not. And you make it by combining whatever the tincture flavor profile is that you want and some very, very high proof alcohol. So you could do like super high proof vodka. You could do a Everclear, which is basically what I use. And it's the only time I use Everclear. So that's cool. Yes. But what we did was we took some coriander seeds. We put them in a little pot that you could cover like a glass jar maybe. And you fill that with your Everclear and you leave it alone for a couple days. You shake it around a bit every like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a day just to make sure that you're mixing it in. And it leaves a really nice, very potent, very, very alcohol driven flavor profile. But again, you're only going to use that for, a couple of drops. And so that's really the only thing that sets this cocktail up for being like super shishi foo bougie, because the rest of the ingredients are completely accessible.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. This one comes together really quick, really simple, and it's really delicious. They're bringing in that coriander tincture, just gives it a little bit of like this. It leaves you like scratching your head, like what is that ingredient? And it's the coriander tincture. So let's put one of these together into a shaker tin. You're going to go with 1.5 ounces of silver tequila, 1 ounce of pineapple juice, and you're going to put in just a couple of drops of that coriander tincture. Go ahead and play with that. It depends on how strong your coriander tincture is and how strong you want it to be. But we just used a couple of drops from a dropper there into that. So 1 ounce of the pineapple juice with the coriander, a half ounce of agave nectar, and a half ounce of lemon juice. Go ahead and shake that up to get it all mixed up and then strain it. I think we went with a rocks glass with the big ice cube for ours. That's the way to go. And then you're going to sip and enjoy. Really, really nice. It's kind of like a pineapple-y margarita in a way, but that coriander just brings something extra to the party. This was a really good one. It's just a very subtle, elegant cocktail that was easy to put together. Perfect, I guess, if you're hosting all the celebrities there at the Governor's Ball.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's going to be, I think I heard that gold, or like a marigold color is going to be the color of the Oscars. I could
Mm,
be totally wrong, but like it's
okay.
very like easy on the eyes in that way, right? Because of the pineapple juice, the agave nectar. I suppose if you use a light or a dark agave, that's going to have some sort of effect on the color a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, this is a beautiful cocktail. It tastes amazing. I was really skeptical about the coriander tincture because
Mhm.
I thought this is either going to taste like nothing at all and it's just kind of a farce that we're doing it, or this is going to really bring something. And it rounds out that pineapple so
Mhm.
nicely.
Yeah, because coriander has a tendency to get a little almost like perfumey, like soap tasting, if you have large doses of it in something. So tread lightly, but it gives it just this really, really interesting flavor there when combined with that pineapple juice. So that was really good. You could probably even just do a mocktail with some pineapple, agave, and lemon with a little bit of that coriander tincture. Just skip the silver tequila and go with that. So yeah, that is their cocktail. It's called the It's Showtime. It is coming again from Gotham magazine and the official Don Julio cocktails for the Oscars. So we're gonna have to wait and see what wins come Sunday night to figure out what kind of cocktail we're gonna have to make for our Best Picture winner. Something we've done for the last couple of years. That's always been a good time. All right, and before we take our first break here, wanted to take a quick second to thank our newest patron, Michaela. This is exciting. Cam has joined us on Patreon over there. That's amazing because we've been doing a lot of fun stuff on Patreon. And welcome to the family, Cam.
Welcome, Cam. It's so good to see you, hear from you. Don't be a stranger. You can find us on our Discord site. And we have a Patreon Discord, I think, that is dedicated to
Hmm.
just our Patreon fans. So you
Just
can
the
get on that.
Patreon. Yeah,
It's
that's
really
right.
exciting stuff. We show a lot of really cool stuff that we wouldn't normally get to do on a regular episode. So I'm so
Hmm.
excited you're here. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find information about the Patreon, including the bonus episodes that we do, cocktail hangouts, movie hangouts, all that stuff is available on our Patreon, patreon.com/drink the movies. And thank you so much again, Cam. Now let's go ahead and take a quick break and we will be right back to chat about this year's Oscars. Be right back. Do we need a spoiler warning for the Oscars, Michaela? Yeah,
I
they
was, I
haven't
was gonna,
happened yet. Spoiler warning for everything about
yeah,
the
let
Oscars.
me do that. Yeah. Spoiler warning for the Drink the Movies Oscar 2024 Pick'em. We're going to talk about all the things that we're thinking are going to win. So if you're not ready to talk about that, I guess go make yourself a siesta or a Showtime cocktail. Both are amazing. And come back and we can chat about this stuff.
That's true. Yeah, this serves as kind of a loose spoiler for all of the nominees. How many nominees were there this year, Michaela? Do you know off the top
I do. There were
of your head?
56.
56. That was 56 movies to watch. We fell a little short. Is that true? 56? I only have 53 here on my list, but that's okay. That's
Oh,
okay. Um,
53.
53,
Well, if you
56,
asked, what?
53. It doesn't it doesn't matter.
Let
It's
me
a
ask
lot
you a
at the
question I already know the answer to.
it's a lot. It's a lot at the end of the day, and we did our best, our darned best, to see all of these films. There were a couple short, and we're going to talk about those as we get through those. But before we get into making our Oscar picks, Michaela, which is really one of the highlights of the year, to be quite honest. Another highlight here for this year. This is the first time we've ever had a guest on Drink the Movies. So that's pretty exciting. First timer. I'd like to welcome Jake from Mayhem Pictures and Galaxy of Film and his very own awards bait show, in which he led the way, really, in teaching us about Oscar picks this year. So we thought, who better to have on? So, Jake, welcome to the show.
I am so honored to be the first guest. That's incredible. Yeah, no, I've been a fan of you guys for a long time. I'm so glad that I got to have both of you on Awards Baits. It's been a long season, but it's been a fun season. And we're a week away. We're less than a week away, and it's all coming to a head. So I can't wait to kind of cap off everything with you guys. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jake, if memory serves, you and I met, quote unquote, met the first time on an Oscar recap show over on Galaxy of Film. I think we were both kind of guest hosting or
Yeah.
guest starring on that and talked about the Oscars there. And then that's been kind of a recurring theme as we've both been podcasting and done some shows together. You've had both of us on your show. Awards debates. Michaela was on for an episode, and I was on for an episode or two of that. Leading up to the Oscars this season. Kind of hypothesizing and thinking about that. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about awards debate and what you've been doing over there on that show?
Yeah, so way back when, I used to do Mayhem podcast, which it was just me. I had a show called Blind Awards Race where I would just kind of ramble on about three films that I saw that week because there were so many like Oscar like kind of contenders that were out there. Every week Netflix had something coming out or some streaming service had something coming out. So I always was able to find like three movies that I saw every week, and then I would just kind of talk about them. And through the kind of seasons of doing that, I got way more invested in the awards race. And it kind of fizzled away as a lot of the things with Mayhem did. But when I talked to Max and started regularly appearing on Galaxy of Film, that was one of the things that he wanted to bring over when I officially joined that team was to bring back an Oscars like kind of award season show, and he wanted me to kind of head that up. And yeah, it's a different kind of show now. Like I started it way early, and initially we hadn't really seen anything besides like Barbie and Oppenheimer. Those were the only two that we all saw. And then yeah, with the strikes and everything, I was kind of like, is this the year to do this? Like, should we really launch this now?
Right.
Like, who knows? Like, everything might get delayed. I remember like the first episode, those first couple episodes, probably we were kind of like, if this movie comes out, well, maybe this will be nominated. So it was a little scary for a while. But then once everything started getting resolved, I think the episode Brian was on that like very day the strikes ended. So that was good. But yeah, through that, it's been kind of a journey of like seeking all of these films out. I think I was able to see all of them in a theater, which is kind of wild.
Oh,
like
nice.
I don't think I was able to do that ever.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these, like in the years past, it's been like Netflix movies and things like that. And like my local like theater brand always bring Netflix movies in their theaters. But it's gotten harder to do now that like AMC has kind of taken over everything around me, and AMC doesn't play Netflix movies really. So to kind of have that, I was very happy to see all of them in a theater. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun kind of rambling on about them for as long as we have, but I don't know. It's my kind of favorite thing to do. It's this and Blockbusters summer is like really what it's all about when it comes to like being a film fan. It's like you look forward to 2 times of the year, and it's like the summer blockbuster season and the Oscar season. And it's really like I guess I prefer the Oscar season just because there's so many movies that like changed my life in this period. So yeah, it's always fun to look out for like that September to September block where it's like, are these going to be great? Are these some of these might miss? And that's even more fun even when they miss, because it's like, oh my God, what happened here? Like this was it looks like such an awards friendly movie. What happened? So that's also kind of my favorite thing to do on the show, like kind of talk about like what happened with that. But yeah, no, it's been fun, and I'm very excited. It's been a little bit more of a predictable season This time around, I'm a little bit kind of like we all kind of know what's going to happen. It feels like I really hope there are some shockers, but for the most part, it's a little bit like, yeah, this is not as like tight as maybe I would have hoped, but it's still been
Mhm.
a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. This year feels um, a little bit like it's starting to get away from that. Obviously, with the 2020 and everything kind of shutting down, it really everything got like pigeonholed. So there were like,
Mm-hmm.
here's your 5 nominees, and they're the same nominees in every category,
Yeah.
right? It does seem like it's starting to evolve from that a little bit now that things are kind of open back up. But then you had, yeah, as you mentioned, stuff like the strike this year, which threw a wrench in everything. So tonight, after we finish recording, Michaela and I are going to go see Dune 2, which was supposed to be an Oscar film for this year, but it's going to be playing alongside of like Oppenheimer at the theater now this week in kind of a final run. So we'll be able to potentially see like back-to-back Oscar winners at the theater at the same time the week before the Oscars. So I don't know. It's been a bananas year. Um, you talked a little bit about a couple of things that you like about the Oscars. Michaela, what do you like about the Oscars? When did you first start getting into the Oscars? We've probably, touched on this a time or two over the course of the podcast, but regale us with your history of the Academy Awards.
I mean, I could do that, but that would take probably 45 minutes just talking about it. But I will say, so I didn't have TV growing up. Movies was all I had. And so I've always been a big lover of film. And even though I didn't have TV, for some reason, the stars would align and I'd be able to watch the Oscars from like, it was 1996, I believe, when Jerry Maguire, Cuba Gooding Jr. won for Best Supporting Actor. And he gave the most amazing speech. If you've not heard it, go look it up. It's on Google or YouTube somewhere. And he thanks everybody he's ever met in his entire life in about 37 seconds. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, how amazing is that? And so since that moment, I was like, I'm going to watch this every year of my life. I'm going to watch all the movies that I can. Even when like The English Patient came out and nobody had seen it because it hadn't even come to America yet, I was like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to love it. So it's just a big deal to me. This is it's a very big deal to talk about movies and talk about things that have changed me. The great thing about movies is you never have to leave your house, especially now. To go on these amazing adventures. It's kind of like a book, but for those who really struggle with that, you can see something visually that maybe you wouldn't be able to experience in any other way. And as we talked about, this isn't the only award show out there, but it certainly is one of the most popular. And I just love it. I just love it.
Yeah,
What
for
about
sure.
you, Brian?
It definitely is like a capstone of the award season, right? And I mean, it starts like way back early in the spring when you get, film festivals and things like that, and starts generating hype, and you kind of get to see now, especially with like the internet, you get to see like how like different companies and streaming services and things really kind of like position themselves for the Academy Awards, which is not the case, when you and I first got into the Academy Awards. Similar to you, I did grow up with TV, but come Oscar Sunday, like that was the only thing that was on, right? I grew up, we didn't really have like cable TV. That was kind of a thing that was just, coming into people's lives at that time. So basically, you had like your like four like local stations. So on Oscar night, the other stations would just show reruns, right? So like in the Super Bowl, nothing goes up against the Super Bowl. Nothing really went up against the Oscars. So it was just what you watched on Oscar nights, and really kind of fell in love with it, and then started analyzing it a little bit more when I got into college. It kind of goes from like, oh, this is fun to see like the movie stars, to really thinking about like what won and why it won, and stuff like that. And now, through the course of the podcast, and you and I kind of challenge ourselves to watch all of the films that are nominated for the year, or at least do our best to see all of those films. It's really evolved now to a point where it's really driving you to see films that you wouldn't necessarily watch, right? Especially like the foreign language films or some of the documentaries, shorts, stuff that gets nominated for technical awards that you might not have had the chance to see or wouldn't have seen had it not been nominated for an Academy Award. That really, to me, is what is exciting about the Oscars. It's, just opening like your eyes, like expanding the horizon of the films that you're watching over the course of the year, and then you end up seeing stuff that you really fall in love with. Wolfwalkers, nominated for Best Animated Film a couple years back, is probably in my top 5 or 10 films of the last like decade. I absolutely love that film, and I never would have watched it had it not been nominated for an Oscar. What about you, Jake? You have like mentioned, kind of a history of talking about the awards and following some other like film festivals and things, and being an aspiring young filmmaker who I've had a chance to go watch Jake's films. We'll talk about that here later in the episode. But when did you get into Oscars, or was it really driven more by just wanting to have content for the podcast you were doing, or tell us about your journey of Oscardom?
Yeah, so before I had even like I had always done like, little YouTube videos with my friends and stuff like way back in like 2012, 2013, but like a little after like middle school. And then like once I started to kind of pay more attention to what was coming out, I think it was like around I would say like 2014 was when I was like, I want to watch all of these. I had seen like I think I sought out like a lot of these limited release films. Like I saw Whiplash with my dad. Like I went around like, yeah, I was like, I need to see this. Like this looks incredible. Went to see that. Like there's an independent theater around where I live called the Avon. And that was like a big one for me. Like I would just go there and like they would always kind of have something that like, you wouldn't see at like the local chains. And so I was like, oh, I want to go to the Avon and see Birdman. And so I went to the Avon to see Birdman, and I was like, oh my God, that movie was incredible. And then that wins Best Picture. And I'm like, I saw that like when it was not really playing anywhere. Like that's so cool. And there was another indie theater called Garden Cinemas that was around me. That's since closed because of the pandemic, so that sucks. But that one also played like a whole bunch of movies. And then I would like go out of my way to like look up some of these movies and just like, where are they? Where can I find them? And then that sort of sharpened my mind to like pay attention to this stuff more. And then I was able to actually attend like the New York Film Festival with a good friend of mine, Ben. He and I would go, and he would kind of like hook me up, and like he would like get us tickets because like they would sell out like instantly. And so we went to see what was the movies that we went to go see The Walk, where he walks across the Twin Towers. That movie.
Okay.
I think that ended up not
Man
really.
on Wire.
I think it was just The Walk, because in the Man on Wire is the documentary. I don't remember. Yeah, there was like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It was like the premiere. It was so fun. And that one, it ultimately, I don't think it was like a big Oscar nominee, but like I went to go see that. I went to see Steve Jobs. I went to see a Foxcatcher. It was incredible to go and see these and like have like some of the actors actually there. So being around that and seeing kind of like how the campaigning works and how all of that kind of goes into it, I was like, well, this is a lot more than just like, this is the best movie. It's like, you got to work for this stuff. And so I started to kind of see that and like realize that. And I'm like, back when everybody was kind of like, why aren't these like, like blockbusters getting nominated? I would be like, it's like, it's a different thing. Like, it's not really, there's a lot more that goes into it than just like, what's the, like technically the best movie. Like learning about that and kind of getting into the kind of inner workings of all that stuff really kind of got me a lot more interested. And then like La La Land would come out, and I was like, I saw that like when that first dropped, and then it just was so much more fun. And over the years, I've seen more of the nominees like before they were actually announced. So I had like some more like kind of horses in the race, I would say. Like once the nominees came out, I'm like, oh, here are all the movies I have to go see now. And it was always like catch up. It was always catch up. But now like this time around, like I saw all of them before they were like, I was like, this is great. Like I've already seen all of these, so I don't have to do any like homework really. Except for like some of the smaller things that I like literally cannot see because they're not out, or, they just are not accessible for us. Right. Like I remember The Zone of Interest, I joked about it on Awards Bait, but like The Zone of Interest, like just for whatever reason was not playing around me for like months. And then once the Oscar nominations came out, it was like, here it is. And then it's like, okay, I guess that was smart. But yeah, no, it's just like growing up with that and kind of seeking out the films really kind of made me more interested in it. And then once I started having like a platform with like the Mayhem stuff, it just seemed to make sense to kind of track that, to be like, here's what I've been watching and here's what I can kind of expect. And then you'd always get the kind of odd movie that like came out in March that like was really incredible, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, hopefully Dune 2. these movies that come out super early, but like they just have that longevity. And then like to keep track of those and be like, well, let's keep an eye out for this one because like this might come back into play later on in the year. That like strategy kind of like it's like chess. Like it's like you got to really think like 3 steps ahead with some of these movies. And then when they delayed Dune, everybody was like, there goes its Oscar chances. And it's like, well, no, if it's really great, it'll play next year and it'll be an Oscar contender next year. So that's why it's like fun to watch these. And now we're all kind of holding our breath. I mean, the Mickey 17 thing got delayed to January, and it's like, well, what does that mean now? Is that out of the running? And it's like it's like, oh, it's a January movie, they're worried about it. And it's like, not necessarily. Maybe it'll have a limited run in the fall, and then it'll get the film festivals going, and then it's still a contender. Like to think like 3 steps ahead like that, it's just interesting to me, and it's so fascinating to see kind of how these studios plan it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with the advantage of having things streaming is that because Everything Everywhere All at Once came out last spring, then it was able to do a couple of repeat runs in the theater, and then it hits your home television, so it's always staying fresh in your mind. It doesn't matter what time of year things come out anymore. I think it plays way less of a role than it used to, for sure. Out of sight, out of mind. So let's do this, everyone. Let's take a quick break because we have a lot of Oscar 2024 stuff to get to. We're going to go through, we're going to talk about each of the categories a little bit, make our picks, and see what we think is going to happen come Oscar night. So sit tight and we'll be right back. All right, everyone. So we are ready to make our Oscar 2024 predictions. This is something we've done ever since I've known Michaela. The first year I met Michaela, she's like, all right, so listen, the Oscars are on whatever night they were the first night. You can come over, but you can't give me a hard time if I cry when people are accepting their speeches. You can't give me a hard time about how much champagne I drink. And you also have to fill out this thing. And I'm like, I haven't seen any of these movies yet this year. She said, I don't care. And I won naturally, of course, with my, my very magnificent movie picking. And we've been doing that ever since Michaela and I have known each other. So this is carried on now into the Drink the Movies Oscar Pick'em. So if you're listening to this right now, the day that it comes out, there's still a couple of days left to get your picks in. So go to drinkthemovies.com. There's a link like right at the top of the page. You go, you make your picks, and whoever makes the most correct picks wins our prize package, which is pretty fun. We got that all put together. Pictures of it have been spammed to you, no doubt, on all the social medias. Jake, our guest, was our very first entrant into the awards competition. So thank you, Jake. I'm not going to hold you to those picks. If you have any change of heart here over the course of this episode, we can make some tweaks. But Michaela and I, these are pretty much locked in. With the asterisk, if we do happen to get to see, I think the last like 4 films that I'm missing and 5 that Michaela is missing, if we get to see any of those over this week, we might change those. Probably not. I don't think anything that we need to watch is really going to come into play. I don't think. So with that in mind, we're just going to go through our Oscar pick'em. And the reason they are in this order is because it is alphabetical, and that's how they have them on the official Academy Awards website. So let's get started off here. Michaela, Jake, actor in a leading role. This is a big one already. Our nominees are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Michaela, as the resident Drink the Movies Oscar expert, I'm going to let you go ahead and make your pick for actor in a leading role. What do you think about this category?
I think that Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer is going to take this one away. It's a really tough call because all of these are amazing. Coleman Domingo, what a year for him. Bradley Cooper, again, he is cinematic gold. He is so amazing. And Jeffrey Wright, holy moly. I think this might be his first leading role, and he is completely blew me away. So this was tough for so many reasons, but I picked Cillian Murphy.
Okay. Jake, what do you think about our actor in a leading role category here this year?
So this one kind of changes day by day for me. I'm more confident now. Back when the Pick'em first was announced and released, I think I might have filled out the form as Giamatti. However, at this point, I think it is going to go to Cillian Murphy, just because of all the momentum. He just picked up the SAG, so I think it's very likely that like at this point he takes it. And if Giamatti wins, I do think it's still deserved. But I think, at this point, all signs lead to Cillian. And he deserves it. He was fantastic in it. But I would not be upset to see Giamatti take it. But ultimately, I do think it will go to Cillian Murphy.
Okay, and I'm going to make it 3 for 3 for Cillian Murphy here in this. Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers is excellent. Jeffrey Wright from American Fiction is excellent. He's one of my favorite actors going at the moment. Jeffrey Wright. I'm so excited to see him lead the way here on this thing, and I think really, Cillian, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Giamatti. I think like any given year, those performances would have, garnered an Oscar nom. Coleman Domingo, excellent. Bradley Cooper, excellent. But Giamatti, Jeffrey Wright, and Cillian Murphy really kind of elevated, and I could have seen them going this way any of the years. But yeah, Cillian Murphy for me, like you mentioned, Jake has won all of the awards kind of leading up to this. It seems like the tide has gone his way for this one. I think Oppenheimer is going to have a big night starting right there. So.
Yeah, so the next one, I guess, is actor in a supporting role. We have Sterling K. Brown with American Fiction, Robert De Niro from Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. from Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling from Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. And I'm going to turn the tide onto Jake. Tell me, what was your pick?
My pick is Robert Downey Jr. I think this is probably I think it's right up there as like the most like probably obvious award of the night. I think he's got all of the momentum, like we were just saying with Cillian, except there is no other like Giamatti to rival him. I think all of these performances are fantastic though. Like I really loved Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things, and he is like my emotional winner. Like I would love to see that, but yeah, it's just looking like it's going to be Downey Jr. I mean, Robert De Niro never does any wrong. Sterling K. Brown really did impress me. This was one that I saw a little later. I had to drive out like 40 minutes to see American Fiction, but like Sterling K. Brown blew me away. Really, really thought he was tremendous in the movie. And and there are people that are not in this category that I really liked as well, like Charles Melton from May December, Willem Dafoe from Poor Things. There's just not enough room. Like everybody's so fantastic. But ultimately, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer for sure.
All right. What about you, Brian?
This one's a tough one for me. I think that the smart choice is going to be go with Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. I already mentioned Oppenheimer is going to have a big night. But I was left wondering, we were watching the Golden Globes and they made the announcement for this category, and I was really kind of split on it. I was like, this could really go Robert Downey Jr.'s way, which it ultimately did, or it could go Ryan Gosling's way. And to me, it felt like when Robert Downey Jr. won that, to me, it felt like they were like, okay, this one's yours, and then the Oscars going to go the other way, which sometimes happens here from the Golden Globes to the Academy Awards. So I think that I'm probably going to go with Ryan Gosling for Barbie.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So I think you're right in some ways. It depends on when voting opens and closes for the Academy Awards, because usually they do take their cues, and I feel like they're able to say, okay, you get one and we're going to give somebody another one. So maybe you're right. But I mean, Robert Downey Jr.
The voting was pretty close. I think the Oscar voting was like 3 days after the Golden Globes or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that might have you might have an idea there. I'm sticking with Robert Downey Jr. though, because he is probably my favorite actor of all time. I think he's amazing. I wrote to him in prison. Well, when he was in prison. I mean, I've been
He wrote to you in prison
since he didn't write to me at all.
Oh.
He does not know who I am. But I have been waiting for him to, get the kudos that he deserves, because he's such a talented actor, and he's been talented way before Iron Man. I mean, Iron Man's great, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he has been amazing since, the early 90s. And so I'm super excited. I really hope he takes it home. And that's my pick.
All right, next up, actress in a leading role. This one is probably the most head scratching for me. Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. Brian, what do you think? Who are we going with here?
Okay. This one, there are a lot of really good performances here this year. You have Lily Gladstone, Killers of Flower Moon, who won the Golden Globe for the drama, and Emma Stone, who won for comedy musical. Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall might be my favorite acting performance of the year for anyone. She's incredible. Like not even acting in her own native language, but two other languages, which is absolutely insane. Snub to Snoop the dog there on that. But I think that Lily Gladstone is going to take it. All signs seem to be pointing Lily Gladstone's way, and I, for one, am happy about that because she seems incredible. She just said that she wanted to host Saturday Night Live. I hope that that happens for her. And that's my pick. The Annette Bening one. Okay, maybe Margot Robbie should have had that slot. I don't know. I don't want to get into snubs too much because Annette Bening was great and Naiad was a really fun, really well done film. I was excited to see it get a little bit of love here come Oscar night. So, but Lily Gladstone is who I'm going with.
I have to agree. I think Lily Gladstone, it's her year. But I do also share the idea, man, for me, it's really hard. So, Jake, when you and I spoke on Awards Bait about the actress in a leading role and best supporting actress in a supporting role, we talked a lot about Sandra Hüller's performance and how it was like subdued and like so under, like very subtle, and how it just broke you because you just didn't know what was going on, and she was trying to speak and explain this relationship and this death and so it's hard because I don't think she's going to win, but if she did and I'm wrong, I'm not going to be mad at it. And Carey Mulligan, how does she do it? I don't know how she has the most amazing voice. She sounds just like the real character in this film. It's amazing, and her mannerisms are just so perfect. Oh my gosh. And Emma Stone, of course. I mean, yeah, this is going to be really hard. I'm picking Lily Gladstone though. So yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm okay with it, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong.
I would agree with both of you guys. I do think that at the end of the day, it will go to Lily Gladstone. I think her performance just is the best here as well. Like I think I do really love Emma Stone in Poor Things. I was talking about this on Awards Bait as well. Like Gladstone like could have been pushed for supporting actress, and like maybe like should have slam dunk victory. But the fact that they just have this much like confidence in her ability to win is just fantastic, because it's like, yeah, Lily Gladstone can stand up there with these other four actresses and win. And that's really encouraging. And yeah, agreed. Annette Bening, like, you know, I liked Naiad a lot when I saw it. But like Greta Lee for Past Lives, Margot Robbie for Barbie, like, yeah. But yeah, I would agree, Lily Gladstone, with maybe Emma Stone, a chance of Emma Stone in there. And yeah, Sandra Hüller is in 2 movies, and she could have been nominated for both.
Yeah,
true.
But alas, she was nominated for 1. But yeah, no, Lily Gladstone for me, but maybe Emma Stone too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon really only works if Lily Gladstone's portrayal of like the weight of all that stuff is really well conceived. And yeah, it's just excellent, let's go to actress in a supporting role here. So we've got Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks from The Color Purple, America Ferrera from Barbie, Jodie Foster from Naiad, and Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. Let's go straight back to you, Jake. What do you think about our supporting actress category here?
I think Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. She's been winning all of the other awards. I think it's just all the momentum is there. It's really great to see all of the other actresses here, but at the end of the day, Divine Joy Randolph is really kind of the best one here. It's nice to see America Ferrera here. I didn't know if she would actually score a nomination, but to see that she did, that's great. Danielle Brooks, I really liked her in The Color Purple. The Color Purple overall was pretty slept on this award season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But great movie. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend that. And yeah, Emily Blunt, great. But yeah, Divine Joy, but for sure, for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. She's like the darling of the awards season this year, and it's so beautiful to see. I feel like when I saw The Holdovers twice, and the first time I saw it, I was like, huh, that's really good. Okay. And then when it was nominated, I was like, well, I think I need to go back because I liked it, but I didn't love it. And everybody was talking about it. And I love Paul Giamatti. So I was like, all right. And then I really just kind of fell in love with this movie. It's so, again, you go that subtlety of acting that is really amazing. And one of the things that really makes the holdovers work is Divine Joy Randolph. I mean, that whole character and the way that she portrays her levels of grief and how she kind of moves through her life, and it really depicts that time period and what that must be like. I mean, for me, it was very paradigm changing, which is something that I find as a great marker of acting and performance in a film anyway. So I'm going for that one. This was sad in a way because I love Jodie Foster's performance in Naiad. I thought she was triumphant. But I'm glad to see that she's also coming back and doing more things. So we're probably going to see more of her. And so that makes me happy. But Divine Joy Randolph for the win. That's for me. What do you think, Brian? What are you locking in?
Yeah, this one I think is a pretty sure bet. Every award is going to Divine Joy Randolph for this role, and she's incredible. And I'm very happy for her, and hope that this opens a lot of doors for her to get into more work. I think there is kind of an outside shot that America Ferrera could win for her role in Barbie, especially after kind of the announcements got made of who got nominated and who didn't, and that kind of swing the pendulum back into the favor for the Barbie categories there. But now Divine Joy Randolph is the clear winner here, I think, for actress and supporting role.
Okay, well, we're moving to one of our favorite ones to talk about, which is the animated feature film. The nominees for animated feature film are The Boy and the Heron, Robot Dreams, Elemental, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Nimona. Jake, what did you think? What do you think's going to take home the big gold man?
So Robot Dreams is one that I, for the life of me, cannot find and have not seen. Nimona, I also haven't had a chance to check out yet, but I think ultimately Boy and the Heron has the heat, so I want to say Boy and the Heron, but I'm going to go with Across the Spider-Verse. I think ultimately Across the Spider-Verse will take it. The first one won. The only argument I could see for it not winning is that, like, there's been a lot of word that this is his last film. I know he's been talking recently and saying maybe not, but they tend to award the final efforts more. And we know there's another Spider-Verse movie coming. So maybe they're holding out to give the last one, and it's the same reason. Well, that's next year, but Dune, I think, like, that's ultimately there's gonna be another one, so they could award that one. So I think, and like we were saying, they kind of like to play fair sometimes with these awards. So I think it could be The Boy and the Heron. I think the argument there is strong, but my personal pick would be Across the Spider-Verse. I would love to see that.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, fair enough. This one's a little harder because I've not seen two of these out of the category. Two of the four films I haven't seen. Both come from the animated feature film. I haven't seen The Boy and the Heron. Missed that when it did its theatrical release, and it's not showing by us anywhere. It's not available to be streamed yet. And Robot Dreams, if you're listening to this when it came out, you had one chance to see it if you live in the United States, and that was yesterday, 7 p.m. They were doing one showing, which did my head in a little bit. And then I saw that Neon is the distributor for this, and they've owned the distribution rights to it since last May, I think.
Wow.
Why has this not been in theaters before now? Neon, get your act together. The second that it's nominated for the Academy Award, why aren't you like,
what?
It's in theaters and you can go to neon.com and rent it. What the heck?
Okay.
Yeah. Off my soapbox there. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is probably the best animated film I maybe have ever seen. It's incredible. It is so interesting and so unique. And the first one won the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture before they knew it was going to turn into this trilogy of things. And therefore, I'm picking The Boy and the Heron to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture, because they'll give the third installment of Spider-Man the Best Picture there. They're going to give The Boy and the Heron a final send-off here with the Oscar this night. It's really done well pretty much, and everything every time you're like, this is Spider-Man's award, and then Boy and the Heron win it, and that's going to happen on Oscar night too. So Boy and the Heron is my pick for animated feature film. What do you think, Michaela?
Oh, so here's the thing. I've not seen The Boy and the Heron. Please don't hate me. And I've also not seen Robot Dreams because I was somewhere else the one time that we could see it in the United States. But I did see Nimona, and here's the deal. Here's the deal. I for sure thought Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was going to take this. And then I saw Nimona and I was like, why? Nimona is so good. Jake, you said you hadn't seen it yet.
Check it out.
I can't wait. I cannot wait for you to see it. It's so good.
So good.
To me, animated feature film, there's always like a clear winner. And then there's the film that I really want to win that's not the clear winner. And Nimona is it for me. I love it so much. I think Brian is right. I think The Boy and the Heron is going to take it away. I think though, look, I love that style. I love Miyazaki's like worlds that he creates. I think it's amazing. I haven't seen it, so if I'm wrong, I'm gonna be like, well, I didn't see it. But Spider-Man Across the Universe is so special. It's so special for so many reasons, and just like the animation itself. When we did a whole episode on it, it's so good. But I don't know. Everybody seems like you said, the heat's on Boy and the Heron, so that's what I'm gonna pick. And if I'm wrong, I'm gonna be real happy about it. I'll say that.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Next up, we got cinematography. We got El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Brian, what do you think for cinematography?
This one is tricky here for me. I really, really loved the cinematography direction in Maestro. I loved the way that those shots were being framed, that the kind of decision making that Bradley Cooper was making, and how the shots were structured, and the long holds on people, and the long conversations. It was simplistic in a way which created its own kind of tension within the film, and I thought that was really great. But I think Oppenheimer is probably going to take this one away. You have kind of the vastness, and obviously they're talking about all these crazy IMAX cameras and stuff they had to make for it. If you remember back before Oppenheimer came out, and everyone was talking about what a mad evil genius that Christopher Nolan was being about this thing. So I think Oppenheimer is the winner here for me, just kind of in what it's doing. It's big and epic and sweeping, and it's also very tight on a lot of faces at the same time. So it's kind of running the whole breadth of what you can do with cinematography. So I think Oppenheimer is my pick here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Brian on this one. First of all, I do have a question. Is it really like a thing where as long as we do something in black and white, it's going to get nominated for best cinematography? I'm asking for a friend. Jake, if you're a filmmaker, if you want to make something that's going to get best cinematography, do it in black and white, because I guess that's the thing. Look, I kid a little bit, but I don't know. Oppenheimer and Maestro were really kind of toe to toe for me on this. Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, I'm not going to say anything that Brian didn't already say. It's very sweeping, very epic. But and Poor Things, I thought was just beautiful. But I'm going to pick Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 for 3. I totally agree with you guys. I do think I would love to see Killers of the Flower Moon win too, though. I need to rewatch that before Sunday. I've only seen it the one time so far, and it didn't quite hit me as hard as I wanted it to. So I really want to watch it again and see if it changes on with a rewatch. But yeah, Oppenheimer, I think ultimately would win this. But I would love to see Killers win this. But yeah, probably Oppenheimer, because it's winning most of the technical things, I believe. So yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of technical things, we're going to stay with that and costume design here. So we've got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Michaela, costumes, those are always good. These ones are good here this year. You've got real flashy stuff in Barbie. You've got period stuff in Napoleon. Period stuff tends to play well with the Academy, to be quite honest. But what do you think about costume design this year?
Oh, so this is really tough for me. I'm really torn between Barbie and Killers of the Flower Moon. Look, period pieces are great, but I think Killers of the Flower Moon really has this a different component to period piece. It brings in a whole idea of this time and this culture of really getting that right. Poor Things was really special and it was very creative, but again, it was very period piece-ish. I don't really know why Oppenheimer was picked, and I'm sorry. Barbie to me is
Brown
kind of a
suits, looking
clear,
good,
like,
looking
right.
good.
I mean, and half whatever. Barbie, look, not everything was pink, number one, but I mean, look, if you look at the design choices that they had to make, they had to really like make some very bold decisions in how they were going to dress this epic toy that women and some men have been playing with for 60 years. So I really want to choose Barbie because I think that it definitely deserved that accolade, at least, if not so much more.
I think this is a tough one for me. I'm torn between Barbie and Poor Things, I think. I thought Poor Things had a lot of like the extravagant kind of dresses and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Barbie's got kind of like the weird Barbie, like that whole thing going for it. All of the Barbie's outfits in the movie are kind of out there. All the Kens as well. They did a great job kind of adapting the wardrobe, I would say, of like the dolls and stuff. So I think just creatively, I would go with Barbie. But I would not be surprised to see Poor Things take it. But ultimately, I do think probably Barbie, especially because it looks like that movie. It looks like Barbie ended up being not quite as like big of an awards contender as like everybody kind of hoped. Even it got like 8 noms, so it's up there as like one of the highest nominated films. But I know everybody was upset about Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, but I think this would be one to award Barbie, and deservedly so. So I think probably Barbie for this one.
Yeah, I think Barbie is a really good choice to make there. You have a tremendous dedication to recreating those dresses and outfits for the Barbies, because people that are fans of, Barbie, the doll, the the toy, are going to be very critical of that, right? If you have like the wrong like seam color, like someone out there is going to be like, Barbie's seam color of that dress was not that color. So you have to have a real strong dedication to that, and a lot of like the costuming even becomes like bit pieces in the film, right? When they're like throwing like her dresses like out of the dream house, and it's like stopping on it and stuff like that is amazing, and it's highlighting what the costume designers are doing, and I love to see stuff like that. And hopefully they continue. I think in the last Oscars or two, they did like almost like little like mini like featurettes on like the design houses that were doing the costuming. So hopefully we get to see more stuff like that. With that said, I'm taking Killers of the Flower Moon. It felt like those costumes were very vibrant. Like I mentioned, period stuff does really well come Academy Award time, and I really love kind of the way that Scorsese did it, where it's taking, kind of like these black and white, like flash photography images, and then they're like snapping to like the full color of, the people there, of the Osage people within the film. And I thought that was really, really neat. You could also make the case for Napoleon, hit or miss on the content of that film, but certainly the costuming was pretty epic there, especially, come to the wartime pieces and stuff like that. So I think Killers of the Flower Moon is what I'm going to go with here for costume design.
And now we have best directing. And I'm just going to list them. We've got Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. We have Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. And Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. Jake, what do you think?
I think it's time for Nolan to win an Oscar. I think it's probably going to go to him. It's been a long road. He's put in a lot of time as a director. He's gotten a lot of acclaim, but ultimately hasn't won an Oscar yet. So I really think he deserves one, and I think this is the time to do that. I think I really was actually more blown away. Originally, when I saw the nominees, I hadn't seen Zone of Interest. But after seeing Zone of Interest, I was shocked and like stunned by that film. So I would originally thinking like Jonathan Glazer and not Greta Gerwig, and not Celine Song for Past Lives. Like, what's going on here? But then I saw it and I was like, damn, like that was nuts. Like, really well done from Jonathan Glazer there. But yeah, Nolan, it's his time. That's my pick.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a good pick. I think that is the right pick. Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. These were all such excellent films this year. I think I think they're all right up there. Maybe Killers of the Flower Moon, maybe not quite as much. But yeah, Jonathan Glazer, the directing kind of decision making in that film, and showing you what you're not being able to see is you know as affecting as anything. But yeah, I think mentioned a little bit about in the cinematography and kind of this mad genius that Christopher Nolan was being to bring this story to life. And I think that's why Oppenheimer is going to go on to have the big night that it's going to have there with the pinnacle by the director for Christopher Nolan. So that is my pick for director as well.
Well, we are 3 for 3, gentlemen. I just have to say, I feel bad in a way for Martin Scorsese because every year he puts out a film. He puts out an epic film that is amazing, right? The Irishman was great. Killers of the Flower Moon is amazing.
He should make a 90-minute film, and then
Martin,
he can do more like
my man.
whenever every 6 years
say,
he can do like whenever.
I don't know who took you out for a cocktail and was like, you need to make a 3.5 hour film. You don't actually need to do that. You don't. I don't know if that would help you, dude, but I'm in your corner. I really want you to win one. But I do believe that this is Christopher Nolan's night, and his time is now.
His time is now, indeed.
Absolutely. Next up, we got documentary feature film. Nominees are Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol. I haven't seen any of these because my documentary game is weak. So I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Michaela, what do you think will win documentary feature?
Michaela's tearing up just thinking about the documentaries here. This was a rough year for documentaries.
So,
man, I gotta watch them.
I do just want a fun fact, everybody, and tip for the future. Pro tip for all movie watchers out there: do not watch all the documentary feature films in one day. Don't do it. It's a real bad idea. We go from like hope and like despair and like hope and then more despair and then like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot to like, oh my God, to it cannot get any worse. And then you see 20 Days in Mariupol and you're like, I am just going to curl up into a ball and cry for the rest of the week. These were all really interesting documentaries, and I'm not. You say your documentary game is weak, Jake. I mean, the only reason, not the only reason, but the only reason I feel that mine's gotten better is because of Brian. Because all Brian does in his spare time is like read encyclopedia books. I feel like, or watch documentaries. It's pretty insane. And so I really like getting his take first as a guide. Like, hey, I liked this one. What do you think? Because I don't even know what to expect sometimes with some of these documentaries. Like, are they really like very fact-based? Are they, like telling it like a story? Is it an interview? Is it, and what that does, right? All that being said, look, Eternal Memory, I thought was a beautiful story of a very true, like a real relationship and a real person, and what happens when a public figure who has worked so hard for like all good and justice and equality, like what happens when they get old and what happens to their memory when it starts to fade. That was really tough. It was very hard for me to watch. It was probably my favorite one to watch of all of the ones. And to be fair, I have not seen To Kill a Tiger yet. I'm going to pretend to be from Canada later this week, and maybe I'll change my mind. But my vote is actually going to go for 20 Days in Mariupol, because when I think of a documentary, I think of what is most important for this time and what do I think people need to see. And it's very sad. It's very hard to watch. I mean, it is really brutal, but it's so important. If people don't watch any other film, I'm like, you need to watch this footage. This is really important, especially over here in America, in the land of milk and honey, when these things aren't happening, and we don't even hear about the things anymore. It's like, oh, what's going over and what's going on with Ukraine again? I don't know. Isn't that done yet? I mean, the lack of knowledge that we have about things that are very, very devastating to humans on the other side of the world is daunting to me. And it's very much, unfortunately, part of the American experience. So that's why I'm picking 20 Days in Mariupol.
I also am picking 20 Days in Mariupol. Yeah, all of the documentaries this year were super affecting in one way or another. They all felt very kind of timely important to the way of the world. But 20 Days in Mariupol was really just kind of a staggering kind of look into Mariupol, Ukraine, what is going on over there. And it's just coming on the heels of Navalny's death, and that documentary, I believe, won the best documentary last year or the year before. So I think 20 Days in Mariupol is the winner here for me in the best documentary feature film. Jake, you haven't had a chance to watch any of these. Just throw one out there. What do you think?
No,
What do you think?
agreed. I mean, this is the one that I've like heard the most about, so that's the one I would also go with. Is this streaming anywhere? I want to watch this. Is this on?
You can stream it if you have the PBS documentary app
Okay.
on Amazon, which is only like $3.99 a month, but you can get a 7-day free trial and do that for free there on
right,
PBS.
done.
And I think Four Daughters might be streaming on there as well. So
It is. Yeah, that's how I was able to watch them. But for $4,
Yeah.
it'll solve your documentary game, because PBS
absolutely.
puts out a
And
bunch of really great documentaries.
and
in your
and it's
copious amounts of spare time,
and it's PBS, so they don't have to do the telephone drives anymore. Let's stick with the documentaries here, short films. Michaela, you and I took in all of the shorts in one day. It was like a 7-hour day at the movie theater, the Independent Picture House here in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where we like to go and spend some time if we have the opportunity to do so, and we did, to see all the shorts. So documentary style, we've got the ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nene and Wapo. Jake, what about the shorts? Did you get to see any of these?
No. I haven't seen any of the shorts. Are they like anywhere?
So the Last
Nate-
Repair Shop is on Disney Plus.
The Last Repair Shop and Nene and Wapo are both
Nene
on
and
Disney
Wapo.
Plus. The others we had, or no, in the ABCs of Book Banning, I think is on Paramount Plus. So you can see
Yes.
three of the
Good.
5, I think.
Will do.
As the last I looked. But okay, well, Jake, thanks for your input there.
No, I'm
Michaela, we had the long day. We got a pizza
We
though
did.
in between the shorts, so it was okay. What do you think about the documentary shorts here?
Oh, so I'm picking The Last Repair Shop. I mean, this wasn't much better. I cried quite a bit in every single one of these too. This
Can
is
confirm.
sad.
Can confirm.
Look, I love the ABCs of book banning. I really think that was important. But I feel, again, when we talk about documentaries, if I'm like, look, I have to talk to somebody and tell somebody about this thing, it's probably The Last Repair Shop, because it's so affecting. If any of you don't know, The Last Repair Shop is about literally the last musical instrument repair shop that is in Los Angeles, California, for the schools, the public school that is there, the school district. And so those students who would otherwise never be able to play an instrument because they couldn't afford it are given an instrument, and it gets repaired over time, right? It is so inspiring. And look, I had spent the last, I don't know how many hours, like crying about all the horrible things that were happening that I was being forced to look at. So this was really beautiful, in that it fills you with a lot of hope. You learn about the people that are actually putting these things together. And fixing from the little rivets on the side of a violin to like a piano, and how and what each of their stories were, and the story of the instruments, and the story of the people that get to now play this, and the children. And it's just amazing, and people should watch it. And that's all I'll say. And I think it should win. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. The Last Repair Shop is also my pick. I really like the documentary shorts because it's usually like a little like insight into something that wouldn't garner a full-length documentary. And I think you probably could have made a full-length documentary about the Last Repair Shop, but it had kind of these underlying threads of like this bigger story that it's trying to tell, while kind of highlighting on these 4 or 5 individuals that work here at this Last Repair Shop. It's really inspiring stuff. It's available on Disney Plus, as we mentioned. So go give that one a watch. That was my favorite there in terms of the documentary shorts for the year.
So now we have Best Oscar for Best Achievement in Film Editing. We love this, Brian. You and I, we've debated this every year for the last 4 years. So
we never
I
get
can't
it
wait.
right. I don't think we're always bad.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to hear Jake's take on this, because what is the goal of film editing, and who's the best at it? The nominees for this are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. What do you
Yeah,
think, Jake?
as far as like the question of like what goes into winning an award for best film editing, I am
Yeah.
also kind of unsure. But like it's interesting to think about. I think my takeaway is like what feels the best paced, what kind of I'm not sure. Like I would agree with you guys. Like it's a little odd, but as far as like the way I interpret film editing, I would go with probably either Oppenheimer or The Holdovers. I think Oppenheimer like managed to do the Nolan kind of weird out of order thing pretty well, because Nolan always has to do something like that, where some of it's pieced oddly, but it works. It's like it goes back and forth between when he builds. It's not it's not like a linear structure really. I thought that was an interesting way to tell it. I think it works mostly. And yeah, again with the black and white, it's got black and white in it, which that's always good. But I have a soft spot for the editing in The Holdovers because it feels very punchy. It feels very kind of older, like we mentioned in I think previous awards baits episodes. It feels like a movie of the 70s, which I think is accomplished through film editing. So I think that would qualify. But for me, I think probably Oppenheimer, just because of the technical aspect of it. And I think it's 3 hours long, but it's one that I've rewatched a lot. I think out of all the nominees, it's tied with like Barbie as like a film that I've seen 3 times. Like I don't usually do that for super long movies like this. Especially of its subject matter. Like it's not like Endgame where it's like just something's always happening. Like it's people sitting in boardrooms talking, and it's riveting. And I think I think with the editing, it makes it feel more grand. So yeah, Oppenheimer for me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go with Oppenheimer as well. You said something really interesting about the holdovers there, Jake. And yeah, it definitely has the 70s aesthetic. But now that you mention it, yeah, it feels like it was filmed in the 70s. Like it feels like a movie like straight from the 70s. So that's pretty cool. I would love to give it to Anatomy of a Fall. I felt like this film editing, in that the way that it's structured and almost similar to Oppenheimer in a way, where it's kind of telling the story like in this courtroom, but then it's going off to real life things or to the investigation or to conversations that she's having with her attorney there. So kind of structurally very similar to Oppenheimer, but I'm gonna go with that one. It makes 3 hours feel like a breeze as much as 3 hours can. It never loses its attention. And like you mentioned, there's probably like an hour of the film are like 6 guys sitting in this wood paneled office room, right? But it never feels like that's boring or that it shouldn't be happening. Like there's so much other stuff like going on and the way that it's cut kind of between these three like timelines and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Oppenheimer going to keep the train rolling here for me in terms of the film editing. Michaela, what do you think?
Well, I'd love to disagree with y'all, but I think that we'd all be wrong. So I'm not going to. Anatomy of a Fall, the editing there was so special because you don't, if no spoilers, but you don't really know what's going on. And the way that they tell that story is really strange, and it's haunting. It still bothers me to this day, and I've seen it weeks ago. Oppenheimer is so special though, in that first of all, it's from a book, and the book is, I don't know, you listened to it on tape, Brian. It was like 87 hours, but it's 1,000 pages long.
When
I mean, it is
when I'm
not
not watching documentaries, I listen to documentaries because that's just the kind of guy I am.
That's the kind of guy you are. So I don't know how else they could have packed all the information that you needed to understand kind of the beginning, the middle, the end, the impact, and why we should care about it. I just I don't know how they could have done that in another way, other than brilliantly like they did. So that's why I'm giving it to Oppenheimer. I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon, I want to say there were a lot of really cool editing motifs that they did to try and tell the story. But again, it was very, very slow moving. That burn was so slow. And I never quite got over it. And then all of a sudden we were watching a radio show at the end. And it was, to me, that was a little choppy. And so that would be my criticism. So that's why I don't think that one's going to win. Oppenheimer for me. Yep.
Yeah. Next up, we've got international feature film Io Capitano from Italy, Perfect Days from Japan, Society of the Snow from Spain, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, and The Zone of Interest from the UK. Brian, what do you think about international feature film?
Yeah, so unfortunately not been able to see Io Capitano or the Teacher's Lounge yet. I think Io Capitano is just coming available to go to the theater and see this week potentially, so you might have a chance to sneak that one in before the Oscars. The Teacher's Lounge was playing, wasn't able to get out to see it at the Independent Picture House, unfortunately, but I have seen the other three. Just saw Perfect Days was the most recent one of these, and I'm still deciding on whether I thought that film was great or not. It's really kind of back and forth, but it was really beautiful. You have to say that. Society of the Snow also great, very epic in scale, and kind of a big swing there from that film crew, and came together really great, really compelling story. But Zone of Interest is just a special movie in terms of making you think and feel the things, and the way it's telling the story is just spectacularly interesting to me. So yeah, Zone of Interest, UK is my international feature pick. What do you think about these international films, Michaela?
Yeah. So I'm in the same boat as you, where I have not seen Il Capitano or The Teacher's Lounge. The Zone of Interest still gives me nightmares. It's so good. And the first time I saw it, I didn't see the subtitles, and I did not live in Germany like Brian did. So I was kind of lost for the first 25 minutes. But even then, I mean, it is so affecting. I loved the Society of the Snow. I thought Perfect Days was really brilliant as well. But my vote is for The Zone of Interest. It's a very it's the topic that it talks about gets a lot of accolades in general, right? There's a lot of interest in that time period, and this is a very different view on something that I feel like I've heard about and I've learned about a lot. So I think the fact that they did such a great job talking about that, and kind of a day in the life, or a month in the life of this family, is really brave and special. So that's my pick. What about you, Jake? Were you able to see The Teacher's Lounge?
I
No?
the same two as you guys. I haven't seen. I also have Perfect Days. I think just came out near me, so I haven't had a chance to go out and see that one yet. I'm gonna try to do that Wednesday, I think. But I agree with you guys. The Zone of Interest. It's always a good sign when an international film is very heavily nominated in other categories outside of that one. So I think it just seems like the obvious pick. But I would love to see Society of the Snow take it. I thought that was an incredible story, really well done from J.A. Bayona. That is a great one, and it's one to look out for. But The Zone of Interest is like one of the most nominated films just overall. So I don't see how you don't give it to The Zone of Interest, and it was an incredibly haunting movie. Again, similar to you, Michaela, it's stuck with me since I saw it. Just like one of those like kind of movies where you're like, wow, like this is something I probably won't watch ever again, and that's the highest compliment you can give it. So yeah, definitely Zone of Interest for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some makeup and hairstyling. Now, this one's a tricky one this year, I think. So we've got Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow back here for makeup and hairstyling. What do you think about this category, Michaela?
Oh, it's really hard. This is really hard. In some ways, I think Golda was amazing. I mean, you managed to make Helen Mirren look unattractive. I don't know how you did it. Good job. I don't know if that's enough though to win an award. Versus in like Oppenheimer, I did not know it was Robert Downey Jr. until halfway through the film. Honestly, had no idea it was him. I heard the voice, and then I was like, that sounds a lot like my man. And then I realized it was, and that's insane. So if Oppenheimer takes it away, that will be the reason why, because that was insane to me. That being said, there's a beautiful shot that of the very beginning of Maestro, where you see Bradley Cooper's character Leonard Bernstein really up close, and he's old, and you see him like with all of his wrinkles and all of the aged skin, and it looks so amazingly realistic and lifelike. I just was blown away. And so, as much as I love the Oppenheimer, I think I'm going to go with Maestro. I'm probably going to regret it because one of the reasons why Robert Downey Jr. is going to win is because he was so different. But I think I'm going to go with Maestro.
Okay, you heard it there first. Maestro for Michaela. What do you think about makeup and hairstyling this year, Jake?
I'm also torn. I think for me it's Maestro or Poor Things though. I think I thought what they did with Willem Dafoe's face was pretty great. And just a lot of the kind of wacky stuff that they're doing in that movie, I think is noteworthy, especially in the makeup department. But yeah, Maestro, from the minute I saw it, where it's like, you make somebody look old, half the time that's enough to give you an award. And yeah, I have like my theater that I went to, that Avon theater that I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, they gave out like these sheets, like these big stills, and it was like behind on one side of the page it was the real life Leonard Bernstein doing whatever he was doing, and then on the other side it was Bradley Cooper reacting in the film, and it was incredible. Like every once in a while I'll just look through those and I'm like, this is great. So my pick, I think I would also go with Maestro, just because it was incredible. Like you see everything in his face and it's like nothing looks weird, it all looks so natural. And to capture him like at different stages as well, like there's some parts he has a beard and then some parts he's younger, so it's like they did a great job kind of making it feel like the same person. And it's a real person that we can look at in real life, and it's an actor that we know what he looks like, and throughout the movie there's a consistent like, you're lost in the performance throughout. So he's always on it and he's always in it. And I think ultimately my pick would be Maestro as well.
Yeah, I think going into making this pick, I was leaning towards Oppenheimer, but I think yeah, you two have convinced me now. Michaela, you and I need to start getting different on some of these, but I think I'm also going to go with Maestro. Jake, you brought up the really good point that not only the makeup at the beginning of the film, it's in black and white and it's showing him as an old man, is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. That is really Bradley Cooper underneath of that makeup. Yeah. But yeah, it goes through like the whole like timeline of his life, right? Like it's the makeup. So it's not just Golda, where she's just an old woman, or it's not just Willem Dafoe there in that makeup, which stays the same. But also you have to say in Maestro, you're also doing Carey Mulligan's hair and makeup through the film, and she's growing and aging as well throughout. So yeah, I think Maestro gets the edge for me here in the makeup and hairstyling department, which is going to get us into what Maestro was all about. Some music, Michaela.
Yeah. So for achievement in musical original score, we have American Fiction from Laura Cartman, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, John Williams, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robbie Robertson, Oppenheimer, Ludwig Göransson, and Poor Things, Yerskin Fendrix. Who do we think's taking this one away? Brian, what do you think?
Well, one day the Academy is going to have their last ever opportunity to give John Williams an Academy Award, and it might be this one, but they're not going to. They're going to give it to Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. That's my pick.
All right. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I think like it's such a compelling score and it heightens every scene. I don't think the movie works as well without the score, and like I think that's like the ultimate kind of test for a lot of these nominees. And I saw American Fiction again. I love that score. It's such a little it's whimsical at times. I think that's a great score. And Poor Things as well. It's a little repetitive, but it's good. And yeah, but no, Oppenheimer, that was like people were making like memes with that music over the summer. Like that was the music. Like everybody loves it. And it's still like just that whole bit, like can you hear the music? That whole thing is just amazing. And there's so much you can feel the chaoticness of what's going on in his head through the music. Like it's great. So I think that's like the job of a score, is to put you in the head of a character and also to make the movie more intense or better. Like I think that's great. And so Oppenheimer accomplishes that in spades. So that's definitely my pick.
Same, gentlemen. Look, I'm not I love music, but I can't say that I'm a technical like music understooder. Like I don't know enough. I don't know enough about how
Are
that
you a
stuff is put
word
together.
understooder?
I'm more of a word understooder, but I will say
Okay.
that I've coined that phrase. You can't have it. I do think you are all right for those reasons. I mean, I will just belabor the point if I say more about it. But yeah, I think this one's a pretty clear choice. For best achievement in music for original song, we have The Fire Inside, which is Flamin' Hot, which was done by Diane Warren. Then we've got the song I'm Just Ken from Barbie, which was done by Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. The song It Never Went Away from American Symphony by John Batiste and Dan Wilson. Wazaze, A Song for My People, Killers of the Flower Moon by Scott George. And What Was I Made For from Barbie, also Barbie, from Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell. Jake, what do you think?
I'll take the. I mean, it's between the two Barbie songs, I think, but it's a coin toss for me. Like I really don't know. I'll go with I'm Just Ken because I think it's a fun song, and I think once Ryan Gosling performs that at the ceremony, it's gonna be kind of on everybody's mind, and I think it'll just be fun to give that one an award. I see the argument for What Was I Made For though, but I think I'm Just Ken is my pick.
I love it. Yeah, I'm very excited to see I'm Just Ken performed live at the Oscars. That's definitely going to be the highlight of the night for sure. I'm going to say it's Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell, What Was I Made For by Barbie. That song is such an emotional like gut punch at the end of that film. It's perfect. Basically, anytime Billie Eilish gets nominated for something, I assume that she's going to win. She's some sort of brilliant that I still don't fully comprehend, but that song is fantastic, and that's what I'm going for.
I have to agree with Brian here, although I will say I love when they pick a song that is nominated or hey, even what was it last year or the year before that when they did We Don't Talk About Bruno, right? Because they were like, oh, we missed that, but we should have nominated that because that totally would have won. I do love when they perform the music. And I think it's going to be really fun to see Ryan Gosling perform I'm Just Ken, but I just don't think that's going to win. I feel like Billie Eilish, this song spoke to so many people in so many ways, not only from a Barbie perspective, but just as a person trying to figure out what they're doing in this kind of crisis of conscience and who am I and what am I doing here and what's the whole point? And again, Billie Eilish, she's got this really amazing way of like whisper singing that I still can't figure out. I half the time I'm like, I need to look at the lyrics to understand what she's saying, but it is still brilliant, and I think she's going to win.
Yeah, on a quick aside, I kind of want to just go to the Oscars now for all of the original song performances, assuming they all perform. Diane Warren, John Batiste performing. Wazaze is going to be like some huge choreographed bit. It's going to be really, really cool. So, yeah, original song there.
All right.
For sure.
Production design. It's next up here. We got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Michaela, what do you think about production?
I was hoping to be last so you guys could educate me on what I should pick. Man, do I really have to decide? This is hard. This is going to be real hard. Look, we talked about the production design in Poor Things a little bit. The sky that is in that film, when it goes from black and white to color, that sky, it's like this pink, blue. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And I believe that is a decision that is made in production design. If I'm wrong, sorry. That being said, I feel like the Barbie world was really amazing. I think it's much more difficult to create a world that you didn't have pictures of, or you didn't have an idea of, or you know, you had to be more creative and kind of pull that out, which is one of the reasons why I don't think Napoleon's going to win. This is so hard. My initial thought was Poor Things for production design because it's so weird. Like the house is weird. The boat is amazing. I'm going to go with Poor Things. That's what I'm doing.
Michaela is going Poor Things. If you only had Barbie or you only had Poor Things, I think either one of those were going to take it. But I think they're going to split votes because they're kind of similar in the way that they're doing their production design. So I think they're going to split votes. And I think then that the production design is going to go to Killers of the Flower Moon for the recreation of the Osage Nation there. Oppenheimer, I think could definitely take it. I thought that one of my critiques about Oppenheimer, and they were very very thin critiques, was that the fleshing out of Los Alamos was a little bit thin. Like I would have really loved to have seen that town come to life a little bit more, and I think that we do get to see that in Killers of a Flower Moon. So I think Barbie and Poor Things maybe should win, split the vote. Killers of the Flower Moon is my pick.
I think this might be the first time we have three different answers. I'll pick Barbie. I do think there is some potential in splitting the vote. I think we've seen that happen before in the Oscars race, especially when there's like two performances from the same movie. A lot of the time, that'll split the vote, and unsuspecting winner will come from that. So there is potential there, and I think Killers of the Flower Moon would be the one to rise up. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Barbie. I think everything with those sets is just great. That whole beach number at the end with the I'm Just Ken, like all the musical stuff there was fantastic. I think there's a lot of really really imaginative, like awesome stuff, and like Michaela was saying, they made something from largely nothing. Like the dream houses, like all of that stuff just exists in toys. And how do you make that work for a feature film? And they did it.
And which Barbie dream house do you pick? I mean,
right.
The Mojo Dojo Casa House didn't exist before, and they had to. I mean,
it's true. It's true. Even like the mundane, like the Mattel office, like is super well realized as well. Like, and it's just like a corporate business office, but like,
oh, they found her ghost on the 13th floor.
Yeah, so fun and like I said, imaginative, creative. I'm going with Barbie. That's my pick.
All right. Next up is going to be our animated short films. We got a couple of shorts coming up. Michaela, what do we think about these? We've got Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. These were all pretty good this year. A lot of times the animated shorts really blow me away. This year I thought they were just pretty good. But what do you think about these ones?
So I really liked Our Uniform. I thought that was probably the most creative way of showing me animation that I've ever seen. I don't think it's going to win, but I did really like it. I think War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, is going to win. It tells a pretty familiar story of, wartime over a holiday season, and kind of humanizes war in a time when it seems really inhuman to be fighting over a line. So I think in that sense, it's going to win. But I liked all of these. Letter to a Pig was a little weird, and if somebody understands it, can they please let me know, because I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent person, but I kind of missed it. I loved 95 Senses because it struck me. It was really hard. And Pachyderm, don't mess with people when they've got a giant, I don't know, tusk that they can beat you with. Don't do that. Good lessons.
Rightfully so. Jake, were you able to see any of the animated shorts this year?
Oh, I think that local theater is also playing them, so I got to get down there to see both the live action and animated shorts. But I've heard the best things about 95 Senses, so I'll go with that one. I think that would be the one I've heard the best about. So
yeah, 95 Senses was good, and it kind of has a little bit of a curve to it that you don't see coming necessarily right at the start, which is really interesting in an animated short. I'm going to go ahead and pick War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. I think that's probably going to take the Oscar, but Our Uniform was probably my favorite in terms of animation. I thought it was really clever, the way that it animated through like the seams and stitching and the tailoring like bits of putting this uniform together. Pachyderm I thought was a really compelling sort of story to tell in a short story format. So I like that, and that one leaves you thinking a little bit. But I think War is Over is probably going to be my pick here for the Oscar. And let's stick with shorts here. We've got the live action shorts. We've got The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Jake, what about the live action shorts? Are you are
Wonderful
any of
Story.
these?
I've seen the Henry Sugar. I think that's probably the one to take it. Wes Anderson's in here. You know, that's it's an unfortunate upper hand because you know he's a well-known director. But I
He's
really
like,
like that
hey,
one. So yeah,
all of my famous pals come be in my short.
exactly. And he had a bunch of shorts on Netflix, right? Like there wasn't just this one. So there was a lot of stuff in the running. But yeah, Henry Sugar would be my pick, even though you know I haven't seen any other ones. But yeah, Henry Sugar.
This was hard. I really love Wes Anderson. So I won't be mad if this wins. I really kind of hope it doesn't because I mean, the whole idea, well, I don't know if it's the idea, but live action short films are usually kind of independent, like up and coming directors who are trying to make it and they put together something that's important to see. Not that this wasn't, but this was tough. Night of Fortune, I thought it was hilarious and awful, like brutally sad and so funny. Red, White, and Blue is very on point for what's happening in America. So I definitely think that that's going to get some votes. And the twist at the end is like real brutal. You was not expecting that. This is really hard. This is really hard. I think for me, though, I think I'm gonna go with Night of Fortune, and the reason why is because it's an international or a foreign language film. It's not my language anyway, but I found it to be like super endearing, and it broke that barrier really well. And so that's what I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, Night of Fortune was really good. Red, White, and Blue, as you mentioned, Michaela is very timely, and important story for sure. But I am also going to go with the wonderful story of Henry Sugar, and yeah, kind of like you. It's not unfortunate, but it's kind of unfortunate for the rest of the filmmakers when Wes Anderson is throwing his hat in the ring. Wouldn't it be something though? Wes Anderson, who has previously not won 7 Academy Awards, wins here on his 8th. In the same year, he had a feature-length film come out, went on the short, their Asteroid City coming out earlier this year, which largely fell on deaf ears, at least deaf ears in terms of the Academy for this year. But yeah, there's the production design is insane, and it's the star power, and it is insane. It's like it's not even fair. It's like watching like a Major League Baseball team play like a Little League team, kind of in terms of this. But I think that therefore that's going to take it. And also, it's been available on Netflix, so everyone would have had a chance to have seen it had they so desired. So, what is up next, Michaela?
We have Best Achievement in Sound, and for that we have The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. Jake, what do you think?
I mean, it's probably Oppenheimer, but I would love if it was The Zone of Interest because the use of sound in that film is insane, and I think like just everything that's going on beyond the wall is just so intense and horrible, and like you hear everything, and it's really kind of the, I guess like sound would kind of be like the villain of the movie almost, like, and it's so interesting in that way because they don't show you anything really, and to kind of have that and have sound be such an instrumental kind of tool in the making of this film, I think should give it the win. But at the end of the day, I think Oppenheimer's got the explosion and has got all the kind of just a lot of the spectacle is there. And I think like at the end of the day, sometimes they like to give the spectacle movies the sound, especially like technically impressive ones like this. I mean, they're lucky Dune's not there this year because that's another contender as well. But I think it's between Oppenheimer and Zone of Interest for me. I'm giving the edge to Oppenheimer though, but I would love to see Zone of Interest take it.
The Creator has like the craziest, most amazing sound for that spaceship of all time. That being said, I didn't love the sound mixing for the rest of The Creator, but the sound that spaceship makes is absurd. It should win an award for that, for something. I think Oppenheimer probably is going to take it just from like those little like firing like synapses that are going on like on screen throughout. It plays such like a vital part of the film. But I totally agree. Like the Zone of Interest is a film that is played out, behind a wall, in smoke and sounds and things. Really probably should have been nominated for cinematography, to be quite honest. There, I think that was probably a snub for sure in the way that they're doing that and walking through the garden. But that's not what we're talking about. We were talking about sound, and I'm going to say Oppenheimer is probably the safe pick, so I'm going to go with that one.
Ugh, you boys are killing me. So I agree completely. This is one of those where it's like, what should win? What's going to win? Oppenheimer's going to win. Zone of Interest, I feel like probably should win. I know I've watched Oppenheimer. Way before I watched the Zone of Interest, but the sound in Zone of Interest and the lack of sound, like at the beginning when you see the family just kind of sitting there having a picnic, and then at the end, it feels like you're falling into this void. It's just really just an amazing use of sound. So if I'm wrong and we're wrong, that's okay. I'll be really happy if Zone of Interest wins, but I'm picking Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Next up, we've got visual effects. Nominees are The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. Brian, what do you think about visual effects?
Yeah, there's a lot of good options here this year. You have like the breadth of the war there in Napoleon. You have all the, I guess stunt work. I guess is where like Mission Impossible is coming into the visual effects and the way they're running like that train.
Was that really
sort of
big
thing at the end?
That big stunt that they do? That's actually Tom Cruise, like
That's actually Tom Cruise
driving over the
doing
cliff.
it. I know,
Yeah.
Madman. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Not my favorite in terms of visual effects, to be quite honest. Godzilla -1 is like it's staggering how good Godzilla looks in that movie. Especially I was fortunate enough to see the minus color version, so I saw it in black and white, and you can really just dials in on all the textures. There's a lot of like miniature work in there in terms of like the cities and how those look and the destruction of those. But I think the creator was really pretty monumental in what it could do. And that's not even taking into account the budget that it had to work with. ILM really did a crazy job with the creator, so I think that's probably going to be my pick here in terms of visual effects. But what do you think, Michaela? You haven't had a chance, I don't think, to see Godzilla. Missed that one in the theater.
I have not. That's one of the ones that I've missed. But so I picked the creator because of, again, that spaceship was insane, and all the work around that piece towards the end, but also like the close-up effects of the people that are I don't know what they called them, the cyborg people, people that weren't people,
the AIs.
Yeah, like so amazing, the way that they did that and the way that they managed to pick apart like very specific details of body parts and recreate that in sort of an AI way was just amazing to me. The creator didn't get, I felt like it was supposed to be better. It was one of those that when it was coming up, we were like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then we saw it and we were like, yeah, that's really good. It was kind of like Napoleon, well, less like Napoleon in that way, where I feel like there was a lot of banner around it. And then it just kind of fell flat. So I'm really hoping that it takes this one home, but I've heard amazing things about Godzilla -1. So that would be my next best pick, but I think it's the creator. What do you think, Jake?
I'll go with Godzilla. I think Godzilla -1 is super impressive. I mean, I'm sure the Academy doesn't really take into account like how much things cost, but between these two films that we're talking about, the creator and Godzilla -1, they're both like monumental achievements given the size of their budgets. Just goes to show you don't need to spend $250 million, because you notice the lack of blockbusters on this list. I mean, you got Guardians here, but you don't have like the other big kind of tentpole movies of the last summer. But yeah, I think Godzilla -1, they managed to do a lot with a little, and I think that really goes a long way. And I think just the fact that it's even here, I think speaks to how impressed people were by this film. And I think at the end of the day, it would be a huge honor for this to take that home. And I think the hard work would pay off, especially given that tiny budget. I mean, I know there's a lot of like controversy around what's going on with that, but I think like it comes across, and it really kind of makes the whole film like seem much bigger than it actually is. You know what I mean? Like it's they do so much with a tiny budget, and I think that is incredible. So that would be my pick, is Godzilla -1, because yeah, he looks great in that movie, Godzilla. He looks so good. And I think like that's the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Like I'm not even a big Godzilla fan, but like that was incredible.
Wow.
It made somebody who's not, like a friend of mine, Will on Galaxy of Film, loves Godzilla, and he loved this film. But yeah, for me, like it turned me, like, who I'm like, that's kind of silly, into like I love it, and it made me, and it was scary. Like it's great. So that would be my pick.
Yeah, it's really well done in terms of the visual effects. It's by far my favorite of those 5 films. There is a really good film, so check that one out, Michaela. Hopefully you'll get a chance to see it here in the not too distant future. Let's go into kind of our last couple of categories here. This one's going to be tricky. We'll see where we land. We've got writing, adapted screenplay. So that is a screenplay based on a previous work, or in Barbie's case, a previous toy. American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Michaela, what do you think about the adapted screenplay category this year?
So I think Oppenheimer is by far going to win. And the reason why is because I can't imagine the decisions that had to be made in order to bring that story to life, with it being such a sweeping, epic tale. Again, and we talk about it in the film editing piece. I just don't know how they did it. It's so amazing the way they did it. I do think Zone of Interest is amazing as well. And American Fiction has my heart. I mean, I've never been so like found something so hilarious and yet very uncomfortable to watch as American Fiction, as like yeah, I loved it. But I'm going with Oppenheimer.
Right. What do you think about the adapted screenplay, Jake?
My pick, I think it's gonna go. Oh man, I'm gonna go American Fiction. I think American Fiction is super well written. I think upon rewatching it too, it really, I one of my complaints with American Fiction was that I don't think it worked tonally 100% of the time. I think it got a little too funny at times. But I still think it's really well written, and it's super like just speaks to like a lot of the stuff that's going on. And it's like satirical, and it's like really kind of funny and well written and quippy. It's got that kind of like, it's quotable. I think it's got a really great script behind it. But I also think maybe Barbie could take it for those reasons as well. Both of them have really strong messages. Both of them are very well done. But I think I'm going to give the edge to American Fiction, because it seems like that movie kind of had a very late kind of surge. And I think that like it might have come out at the right time for the voters. And I think that one could potentially win here, but we'll see.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to take a different one then. I'm going to go with Barbie here. Oppenheimer is really brilliant in adapting that book, but a lot of what it's adapting through that is a lot of like show and not tell type of stuff, which is, coming down to the cinematography and the way that the, shots are being structured, and the production design and stuff like that. Less so the screenplay itself. Barbie, I think, is so unique in that you're taking, a 60-year-old toy and creating like an entire like mythos and personality to it to tell this tale. And I thought that was spectacular. So that was the big thing, I guess, before the Oscar noms, right? Was that Barbie was going to be up for adapted screenplay to the head scratch of people. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Barbie there for kind of those reasons. I think Oppenheimer is probably the smart pick of those, possibly. But yeah, I'm going to go with Barbie. And then for original screenplay, we've got Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. Jake, before we get into this, Barbie is an adapted screenplay because Barbie existed, but Maestro is an original screenplay because Leonard Bernstein didn't exist. What?
I think like it's very silly, and I think like a lot of the time it literally comes down to whether or not the credits have a based on by, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think that's what it kind of comes down to. And because Barbie is based on Barbie, then like the
Okay.
Mattel kind of creation, that's what makes it adapted. But I don't know. But it's also an adapted, like, I can't remember who I spoke to on the awards bait, but like May December is based on a newspaper article
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
true.
So
Yep.
what's that doing here?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of kind of weird kind of rules to this. But yeah, I mean, for original screenplay, I my heart wants Past Lives, but that probably won't happen. I think it's probably going to go to Anatomy of a Fall, just because that is like really well done. And yeah, but I would love to see The Holdovers or Past Lives take it. But I do think probably Anatomy of a Fall is my pick.
Yeah, Jake, I think you're right. Look, Past Lives, I can't even talk about it because I start crying. It's literally one of my favorite love stories of all time. I tell everybody in the world to go see it. It's so amazingly good. Um, but Anatomy of a Fall, there's just something about it, and I think that because it's been nominated for so many other things, I think that they're probably gonna give it that. And that's what I think.
And that's what you think. If Past Lives wins this, Michaela's going to be inconsolable. We're going to have to cancel next week's podcast. She'll still be in like joyous tears. If Past Lives wins this, Anatomy of a Fall, I think maybe should win. The screenplay for that is so creative and so well done, and the way that the dialogue is working and weaving through the different languages through the film, it hurts my head to even think that someone could like sit down with a pen and paper and like come up with that. Like that hurts my head. I'm gonna go ahead though, and I'm gonna go with The Holdovers here for a little bit of a different take. I think it's just it's like such a unique like deep dive into like that kind of tried and true like story that we've seen, before, grumpy old person meets grumpy kid, and they, come together and find that. But it's so much more than that. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that the screenplay is written and makes you sort of fall in love with these characters or fall in love with the idea of these characters. So I'm going to go with The Holdovers here for my original screenplay. Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall probably is my heart's pick, and Past Lives would love to see because it's such a creative and interesting story. But it just didn't seem like the stars aligned for Past Lives this year, I guess.
I hate it when you're right. I hate it when you're right.
All right,
But
that leaves us with one, Michaela. Maybe Past Lives gets on this one. What do you think? What lead us into our last category here?
Thanks. So the nominations for Best Picture are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Jake, for better or worse, what do you think's going to win?
Man, this is it. I think it's probably gonna go to Oppenheimer. Like I think it really is kind of written in the stars at this point. It's been the front runner all year. I think it's Oppenheimer. I think it's one of those movies, and it's great because that was my favorite movie last year. And very rarely have I had a case where most of my favorite movies of the year aren't even nominated for Best Picture. So it is nominated and it might win is encouraging. I think ultimately it's going to go down to Oppenheimer, but I would love to be wrong because I always love an upset, and I love when there's more to talk about. So I would love for something else to win just so we can kind of freak out about it. But yeah. I think Oppenheimer probably.
Yeah, I think it would be more surprising if Oppenheimer doesn't win than if it does win. I'm going to go ahead and go with Oppenheimer to keep that that steam locomotion going forward here to win this award. We've been pretty fortunate, Michaela, the last couple of years. Coda won Best Picture. That was our pick 2 years ago. Everything Everywhere All at Once won last year. That was our pick this year. For me, if I had to pick with my heart, I would love to give it to Barbie. I think that was probably my favorite film of the year, followed very closely by Anatomy of a Fall. But I think Oppenheimer is the one that's going to take it for me this year in the Best Picture category.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all right here. So I'm choosing Oppenheimer as well. There are so many worthy films this year too, and that's the tough part is when they moved from 5 to 10. I was like, "What are you doing? We're gonna have like Bob's television extravaganza like on show because
Sounds
it's
amazing
really
on a
tough.
side
It
note.
doesn't it? Doesn't it? I'm sure there's beer there. But I think in terms of just the whole like the number of accolades and the things that make the quote unquote more I don't know, rich picture in terms of acting quality, the technical piece to it, the script, the direction and the art design and all of that. I think Oppenheimer is probably gonna take it home as well. So that's what I picked.
All right. And that concludes our picks. That was a very long-winded, but I always like going through those and talking a little bit about each of the films, or most of the films for the most parts. And it was amazing to have Jake on to go through those with us. Before we sign off on this one, Jake, Michaela, I want to ask both of you: is there any of these categories that you're like 100% go to Vegas, put money on it, definitely not going to lose? Do you have one of those surefire pick? Jake, let's start with you.
I I like betting money. I would probably say supporting actress for Divine Joy Randolph. But really, both of the supporting categories, I feel very, very, very confident about. But like Vegas, probably supporting actress for me.
All right.
Okay.
I would say Robert Downey Jr. In the supporting actor role.
Yeah.
Wow. I would not say that because I didn't pick him there. I'm going to say my lock is going to be Oppenheimer for cinematography. So I guess we were all on the same page there for Oppenheimer. Although Divine Joy Randolph is pretty much a lock too, I think. Hope to think anyway, because she's definitely my pick. So yeah, that is our Oscar picks. And we did those right on our very own Oscar pick 'em. There's still time. There's still time. You got to go before Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Make your picks. Drinkthemovies.com. Right there at the top, click the link that says make your Oscar picks. You win that prize package that's on the picture there. Got the rocks glass and the beer glass coaster that I made myself. Looks pretty good, I think.
Looks
Coaster,
amazing.
stickers, all that stuff. So go do that. Get those entries in. It's free to enter, and just whoever makes the most correct picks wins. Michaela and I are ineligible to win the prize. We just get the pride of knowing that we were the most right about Oscars. We only had a couple that we varied on, so maybe we'll be real bad. Maybe, I don't know, for sure. But before we go, want to definitely thank Jake. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much. We've had the pleasure of being on your podcast talking about these awards, and now the awards are like less than a week away. We are ready to get into Oscars, watch that. So tell everyone where they can find, what you're doing with your films, with awards bait. You've got something special planned, I think, for Oscar night too. Tell everyone all the things.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for having me on. This was incredible. I'm so honored to be the first guest. This is great. You guys can find me with the Galaxy of Film Gang. I am there's a Facebook group you could join, youtube.com/Galaxy Film Productions. All of my short films currently live on Mayhem Pictures YouTube channel. They will now, new ones will live on the Galaxy of Film channel once those start to come out. And yeah, this Sunday, having a live stream, watch along live stream for the awards bait finale. You guys can join us there. It'll be on the Galaxy of Film YouTube channel. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys there. But yeah, that's all I got. But thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Jake. We really loved it.
Yeah, for sure. So, Michaela, another Oscar preview in the books. Any parting thoughts for everyone? Any words of wisdom about Oscar night? You looking forward to Jimmy Kimmel? Send us off on a good positive note. He's gonna be tied fourth hosting for Jimmy Kimmel. So good job. I guess.
No, I think it's gonna be great. Look, whether you watched all the films, whether you didn't, it's a fun night meant to, really just celebrate going to the movies, which has been a pastime in one form or another for like a century. So we should all take part in it, enjoy it, have a cocktail, have our Showtime cocktail, because it's amazing. It's very, very good. And it's got tequila, and what's better than that? So yeah. And we'll see everybody in afterwards to talk about what won. And if it's not Oppenheimer, then we'll have to talk about what did. So
yeah, we'll have a lot more to talk about if Oppenheimer doesn't win. Yeah, for sure. So make sure to get your picks in. We've been doing the Oscar Best Picture previews on our Patreons, patreon.com/drinkthemovies. Go there for some recaps and all the bonus stuff. It's a great way to support the podcast. We're probably going to be doing something in terms of, I don't know, some Instagram live or something during the Oscars. We're going to try to see if we can work out time to pop on to Jake's live stream as well. It's going to kind of come down to how those schedules are working out and how many bottles of champagne Michaela has gotten open before the party gets started. So
that
keep
should
an eye
really
on
be
that
the tiebreaker.
Sunday.
It shouldn't be the number.
It should be the number. It's a lot. It's a lot. The numbers wouldn't go up that high on the Form Builder website. So yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your picks are. Your surefire picks. Let us know if you have any snubs, all that stuff. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you next time on
Drink the movies.
All right, Oppenheimer for the win.
Oh yeah.